The silence was never ignorance, it was waiting. This is the Crown's final word. Stay with us. Good evening, and welcome to Royal Daily Report, where we uncover the real decisions behind the palace walls. Tonight we reveal the shocking final orders that strip Archie and Lilibet of their royal future, and why the Crown waited so long to act. If you're new here or want every major royal update, hit subscribe right now, turn on notifications, and join us. Channel name on screen: Royal Daily Report. Let's get into it. For many years, Buckingham Palace acted like it didn't hear anything, and now, suddenly, everything has changed. News from inside the palace said that official documents had finally been written. Not rough drafts, not warnings, not "we'll decide later," but final orders. Orders that would forever change the future of two children who never wanted to be part of this battle, Archie and Lilibet. According to people who know about the process, the message inside those papers was incredibly clear. Their right to be called royal is gone. Not postponed, not being thought about, gone. And the moment those words were written down, the palace's silence finally made sense. They weren't ignoring anything. They were waiting, calm, patient, and completely sure that the rulebook would speak louder than anything Meghan and Harry said in public. But to understand why the royal family made such a harsh final choice, we have to look at a very old book. One written long before Meghan, Harry, or their children were ever born, a rulebook that has controlled the royal family line for more than 100 years. The year was 1917. The world was at war. Kingdoms were falling apart. And the British royal family was desperately trying to protect itself from confusion, fake claims, and political dangers. So King George V did something no king had done before. He wrote down in official legal words exactly who could be called a prince or princess. Not as a story, not as tradition, as law. His announcement was called the Letters Patent, and it became the foundation of royal identity for every generation that came after. Inside this document were 3 strict rules a royal child must follow. Rule 1. The child must be from a real royal family line. The royal family wanted to make sure no one without clear royal background got into the line. Rule 2. The child's birth must be officially recognized and written down by the Crown, not by a news release, not by a private announcement, by the royal household itself. Rule 3. The child must be connected to the Church of England through an official baptism. This wasn't optional. It was seen as a legal step in royal identity. These rules were harsh, exact, and unchanging. They were created to protect the royal family from exactly what it feared most: confusion. For many years, every royal birth followed these rules perfectly. No shortcuts, no special cases, no problems, until Archie was born and the very first crack showed up in the royal paperwork. Archie's birth in 2019 should have been easy. A happy announcement, smiling parents, a new baby welcomed into history. And at first, that's exactly how it looked. But inside the legal paperwork, inside the one document meant to protect a royal child's identity forever, something weird happened. Archie's birth certificate at first listed his mother as most legal documents would. Rachel, Meghan Markle, everything normal, everything correct. But later, the document was changed quietly, suddenly, without a clear reason. Meghan's full legal name was taken out and replaced with one phrase: Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. Now usually, birth certificates are locked. They don't get changed like school papers or updated like social media posts. They are meant to be permanent. So when this change appeared, it set off warning signs behind palace walls. Meghan claimed the palace forced the change. Palace workers claimed Meghan asked for it. Both sides said the other was wrong, and no one ever gave a final agreed answer. But here's what mattered to the royal family. A royal birth record had been changed. And once a royal record has doubt attached to it, the doubt becomes a crack. One that spreads, one that grows, one that eventually leads to everything falling apart. By the time Lilibet was born in 2021, the palace had already learned something powerful. Silence can be louder than any words. Because when her birth came, the world expected a familiar picture. Royal doctors standing by. Official announcements from Buckingham Palace, photographers ready to record the newest member of the royal family. But none of that happened. Instead, the birth of Harry and Meghan's daughter came from thousands of miles away, wrapped in a cheerful news release from sunny California. A modern announcement, a friendly message, a picture-perfect statement. But something was missing. Actually, someone was missing the crown. There was no royal seal, no palace confirmation, no official record, no appearance of any official royal witness. And to those who study royal rules, this wasn't small. This was a signal, a quiet message sent without a single spoken word. We are not claiming this. For hundreds of years, royal births have been treated almost like historical ceremonies. Every detail mattered: where the child was born, who delivered them, which doctors signed off, how the crown wrote it down. These steps weren't just tradition. They were the royal family's way of saying, this child belongs to our history. But with Lilibet, none of those steps were followed. To the public, it looked like a simple difference: one baby born in the UK, one baby born in America. But to the palace, it was much bigger. A royal child was introduced to the world without the crown's involvement, making her the first Windsor relative in modern times to enter the world outside the royal record. And inside Buckingham Palace, this wasn't seen as an accident. It was seen as a change, a break from the path every royal baby had walked for over 100 years. The quiet rejection had started. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Daily Report for more royal updates. If the birth made people suspicious, what happened next caused real worry. Months later, Meghan shared that Lilibet had been baptized in California. She spoke warmly about the ceremony, the joy, the photos, the meaning. But behind palace walls, the reaction was very different. Because for royal children, a baptism isn't just a family event. It is one of the main requirements set by the 1917 letters patent. It is the moment the child is officially tied to the Church of England, the crown, and the hundreds of years of tradition behind them. It is a legal marker just as important as a birth certificate. But according to sources familiar with church records, Lilibet's California baptism was never registered with the Church of England. To the couple, it was a beautiful celebration. To the royal family, it was a ceremony that didn't exist. And in the royal world, this is not a small problem. This is major. A child without a recognized Church of England baptism is considered outside the official record. No matter how meaningful the ceremony was inside palace circles, this was seen as an avoidable but permanent mistake. The crown saw it as a break in rules, not by the child, but by the parents. And instead of strengthening Lilibet's connection to the royal family, the event did the opposite. It left her floating between two worlds, celebrated by her family in America, but not recognized by the system she was born into. While these cracks formed quietly, another problem was growing. Something far more personal and far more painful. When Meghan married Harry, she didn't just join a family. She stepped into a worldwide story, a royal story. As cracks in the royal foundation grew wider around his children, Harry did something no one expected from a prince who promised he was done with the royal family. He reached back. According to those familiar with the private conversations, Harry made late-night phone calls to the very system he had walked away from. These were not planned calls, not polished, media-ready speeches. They were emotional, personal, begging. He begged the palace to think again. Begged for Archie and Lilibet to be written into the royal record. Begged for the titles he believed his children deserved by blood. To Harry, this wasn't about fame or marketing. This was about legacy, the one thing he thought he could protect even after stepping down. He believed he could leave royal duties behind and still raise royal heirs. But every time he tried to explain, he hit the same unmovable wall. A palace worker supposedly responded to him with a sentence so cold, so direct that it would ring in his mind for months. This is not about emotion. This is about order, family line, and the future of the crown. And for Harry, that was the moment everything changed because he realized something heartbreaking. He wasn't just the prince who stepped away from royal life. He had become the prince whose children were being erased from it. Once the palace made its decision, it moved with amazing speed. No cameras, no news conferences, no dramatic royal statements, just quiet, steady action. The kind the crown is famous for. According to insiders, the results were not gentle, not temporary, not open to discussion. This was the full list of what Archie and Lilibet supposedly lost. No royal titles, no prince, no princess, no ceremonial roles, no official duties, no public honors, no place in the line of succession. Names removed or blocked from the legal order, no crown-funded security. Their protection left completely to their parents. No permanent record in royal files. The books that outlast centuries no longer include them. In the world of royalty, titles aren't just words, they are keys. They open doors to history. They tie a child to a family line. They guarantee a place in a story bigger than any individual. Without those keys, a royal child becomes ordinary. And that is exactly what the palace's final orders did. They stripped away everything that connected Archie and Lilibet to the centuries-old Windsor legacy, not as punishment, not as revenge, but as following the rules. The royal family had acted, and nothing would be the same again. In the end, Buckingham Palace never shouted, never argued, never tried to outtalk the storm of interviews, podcasts, or documentaries. It didn't need to, because the royal family has always understood its greatest power: silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. Silence is the crown's way of saying everything without saying a word. For years, the palace watched from a distance, quiet, still patient. It watched Meghan build her brand as a royal mother. It watched Harry struggle to connect to worlds. It watched the documentaries, the public speeches, the palace criticisms, all without responding. Because the royal family knew something the rest of the world forgot: power is not proven with noise. Power is proven with finality. And when the time came, the crown acted with the cold speed of a system older than empires. It erased titles. It rewrote records. It removed names from history's path with a message that will ring louder than anything Harry and Meghan have ever said. The crown does not bend. Not for personalities, not for celebrity, not for noise or attention. And once the crown chooses to erase your place in its story, you're not a rebel. You're not a threat. You're not even a chapter. You're simply gone. That is the royal family's final message. Chilling, quiet, permanent. And it leaves one last truth hanging in the air. Archie and Lilibet will grow up loved, protected, and free. But the pages of royal history, the pages that last longer than any interview or documentary, will not carry their names. The absence is the punishment. The silence is the answer. And the decision once made is forever. That's all for today's Royal Daily Report. What do you think? Is the palace right to enforce these ancient rules? Or is this too harsh on Archie and Lilibet? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this report hit hard, subscribe now to Royal Daily Report. Hit the bell for notifications, like this video, and share it with anyone following the real royal story. We'll keep tracking every development. Thanks for watching. Stay informed. Stay thoughtful. Royal Daily Report, signing off. See you next time.